what is happening.
Broadcasting live from the Zimmer Communications World Headquarters.
Great news for the American people.
This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri with Branden Rathert, featuring Stephanie Bell, News Director Brian Houseworth, John Marsh, and Hannah, the producer.
This is why we listen to you.
Get ready, pal. And now, here's your host, Branden Rathert.
I'm Holly Rehder, State Senator from rural Southeast Missouri. My life story is a true testament to the American dream and to how big our God is. I fought my way out of poverty, growing up on welfare, food stamps, and Greyhound buses into the Missouri legislature. I became involved in public service with the intention of helping Missourians realize their American dream, just as I had, to be able to fight their way out of poverty. While serving in the Missouri House and Senate, I worked hard to make that dream a reality for my constituents. Today, I am announcing my run for Lieutenant Governor.
Holly Rehder, state senator from Southeast Missouri, would make a fine lieutenant governor. And I like, as we talked about this with Crystal Quaid the other day, Marsh, the campaign, who can outpour the other candidate. And we're hearing it here again with Holly Rehder.
Holly Rehder, a real deal. When she says she came up from poverty, it's not one of those deals where they're just using it for PR. She really had a tough row to hoe and really, it has excelled at the State House. A lot of people were happy about some of the legislation she backed, but she's a real deal.
Her book, Cinder Girl, came out last year, and it's an incredible read because she is very detailed about what she went. Because we all talk about, we went through some rough stuff in life. She talks about moving from trailer park to trailer park, watching her mom sleep with a different dude almost every night of the week and trying to take care of her sister, and then her getting pregnant at a very early age. It really is. It's an impressive book. It kind of took my heart away because she's so detailed about some of the things that she had to do and how quickly she had to grow up as a young child. I'm kind of familiar with that story because when you got a parent in the house who ain't all right and stuff, all of a sudden, if you're the firstborn child, you got to step up. And so I get that. So she's very strong there.
And if I recall, Brian, wasn't she one of the champions of PDMP because of the
big PDMP lady?
Yeah.
She was. And here's something else most people don't know. That's exactly right. John remembers it very well. She championed that against a lot of Republican opposition, particularly Jay Barnes in Jefferson City. But I remember somebody put a poison pill on her amendment. Greitens was actually probably going to sign the bill. He was lukewarm, didn't really care one way or the other. But she was in tears in her office, sobbing to me and saying, it's going to be, and it seemed an uphill battle, but she said, we will get this done. And she did. But it was not exactly what she wanted. She had to compromise a little bit, but she was able to get it through. Rob Schaaf killed it for years.
And PDMP being prescription drug monitoring.
That's right.
And Holly knows it's one of the things we've disagreed about over the years. I say, Holly, I don't like it. But two things on that. It's very personal for her and she's been open about people in her family dealing with addiction issues to pills. It was very personal to her. And to your point, again, to talk about her political chops and her ability to work with people. So ideally, a prescription drug monitoring program, not really a conservative Republican thing. I don't need my name on another list. She got it passed in a heavily Republican-controlled legislature.
Well, that's just it. I mean, in Branden, you said it best, and when you guys disagreed, I heard it. It was very respectful. But take a look at her Twitter page this morning and look at what some of the people on the left are saying to her. And obviously they're not familiar with her voting record. She's broken with the conservative caucus on a number of things. I think what they're pretty upset. I know some progressives are upset with her on the transgender issue. But if you really look at what she did on that bill, and she can explain it, she basically said on the transgender bill, you had to play in the sports, or have to play in the sports of the gender of your birth. That's really what the bill said.
Keeping sports fair for little girls.
And that's what her argument would be. But yeah, she's catching some flack this morning. Grew up on food stamps, Greyhound buses, and some really horrendous sexual abuse from some of at least some of her family members received as well. It was awful.
The book, it is a gripping read, Cinder Girl. What does Holly have to say? State Senator Holly Rehder, she's going to be joining us 8:10 this morning. So let your friends know, hey, she wants to be Lieutenant Governor of Missouri. Has any other names out there as far as Lieutenant Governor race is concerned? And I will say this, too. Because it is interesting. And I think Holly, she's got some statewide recognition, mostly because, and not a humble brag here, it's just a straight up brag, because of her appearances on Wake Up Mid-Missouri over the years. We cover all of Mid-Missouri. So she's got some name recognition here. The PDMP stuff helped get her some name recognition in other parts of the state outside of the district that she has repped over the years, whether it's her Senate district or her House district. But I think this seems to be a natural ascension for her. Does anybody else get that vibe?
I think so. I mean, she's been working really hard. She's well respected among her colleagues. Very
much so.
And she's worked hard. And I'm trying to think. I don't think there hasn't been a woman lieutenant governor. And and I'm trying to think like what other women could run on the statewide ballot for Republicans. And I mean, she's up there. I mean.
I agree, and she'd be giving up, Stephanie, a very safe Senate seat, so she's confident, has the ability to raise money. But the biggest compliment you can pay her, obviously, she's somebody who's willing to come on. Brandon's had her on many times, but she's a woman of her word at the Capitol, and I've heard that from. I mean, you know where she stands, and at times she is not going to, and the Democrats didn't like her, the stuff on the transgender, but Barnes and those guys on the Republicans a couple of years ago didn't like the stuff on PDMP, and then they were trying to put amendments on there that would kill the bill, and it failed. But that I remember getting a little heated. I think she's got a legitimate shot at that. In Southeast Missouri is so strongly Republican that provides a real strong base.
Yeah, Marsh, any other names we've heard potentially running for a lieutenant governor? Not
Representative Richard Brown of Kansas City. Brian, didn't he file some paperwork with the Ethics Commission? He's a Democrat.
Yeah, I believe so. Very well respected. He's also very well respected in kind of the old school, not a real partisan guy. I don't know. Again, it'd be hard for him raising money. I think that would be the biggest thing. But I do know that he's been in some of the rural areas. He was actually the parade grand marshal for the Chillicothe. I can't remember what the Chillicothe. It's the home of sliced bread. He was the grand marshal that, because he helped Rusty Black pass that bill. So he was the grand marshal. Democrat got a standing ovation up there. That's pretty rare.
Hasn't Dean Plocker's name come up in some circles too?
I've heard Plocker as well.
State Senator Holly Rehder announcing she's running for Missouri's lieutenant governor. Here, what she has to say. She's going to be here at 8:10. Raven Harrison. She does a lot of stuff with Fox News. Great. Just her take on conservative politics. It is incredibly sharp. She's going to be joining us 7:10, and we're going to look back. Remember, right as Joe was getting inaugurated?
If you're ever working with me and I hear you treat another colleague with disrespect, talk down to someone, I promise you I will fire you on the spot. On the spot. No ifs, ands, or buts.
We know he was lying. As a matter of fact, I think we learned it was within a month. One of his male staffers, within a month, maybe 2 months, was being very inappropriate with a female reporter. And I think it may have been a female reporter from Axios. I might be wrong. But like within 2 months, this dude, and they're like, well, we're not going to fire him. We're not going to fire him. Apparently, Joe can be a real SOB to work for, too. We're going to cover some of that with Raven Harrison. She is here at 7:10 this morning. This reminded me, because that was from the inauguration stuff. And it reminded me, Hannah, do you remember his actual inauguration swearing in?
I've tried to block it out.
Like at this point, the dude had been president for 1 minute and 58 seconds and kind of signaled what was to come.
Repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support.
It hurts.
Oh, that was like $1.58 into his presidency, man.
It's one of those, have you ever done something and you immediately see the consequences of your own actions?
Yes.
And it hurts?
Yes.
And you knew it was coming anyways, but it still hurts?
Still hurts. It's one of the things we're covering with Raven Harrison.
Like a punch coming at your head, and you know there's not a thing you can do about it.
Or if you've ever been in a car accident and your car is flipping and, like, you see it coming, you know it's coming, there's not a thing that you can do about it except ride it out, keep your fingers crossed, and hope for the best at the end. Yeah. That's what it's like. And I want to mention this, too, because this is starting to have some real impact. And now it's potentially going beyond agriculture. We are, especially right here in mid-Missouri, we are in the midst of a pretty serious drought. We know that people in the ag industry, some of our local farmers that put food on our tables on a nightly basis, Missouri has said, hey, listen, you can go to any of these places. You can get water. We're going to try to hook you up with some hay. That's going to eventually potentially affect some of the meat prices, grain prices, and now it can affect transportation on the Missouri River.
Potentially.
And so what happens with that? If it affects the channels too much, then there's going to be delays. And then, Marsh, you know what happens. The cost of things start to go up. But apparently, can you kind of give us a little bit of the rundown of what we're expecting weather-wise in the next 24 to 48 hours, Marsh?
We're talking about the potential for high winds and up to 1-inch hail for parts of mid-Missouri. Winds potentially gusting up to 70 miles per hour. Tornado chances are very, very low, but not non-existent. We're talking about rain and storms tonight, at least Thursday morning scattered storms, and then still a chance of some thunderstorms on Friday. So we could be into it, but the weather models are very iffy right now.
Yeah, so potentially, and so some of the good news, now hopefully, so is what I'm hoping for, is obviously we can do without the hail this year. We've already had enough hail in mid-Missouri this year. We could do without the wind, but thunderstorms likely tonight and then even going up into a feel-good Friday. So hopefully we'll get some of that rain. So here's the deal, like commercial navigation, commodities running down the Missouri River could start to see some impacts there. Nothing to worry about with the main water supply right now, but our reservoir system, since we don't have very many natural lakes. Most of our lakes, they're man-made lakes mostly, and that's where a lot of the stored water comes from. 80% of Missouri is experiencing drought conditions, 24% experiencing some extreme drought. Some other things we are covering for you this morning, 6:35. I love this. You know, I always love stories about dumb criminals doing dumb things. The only thing that makes a dumb criminal doing dumb things better or when these dumb criminals are from right here where we live. And, like, we have a whole collection. We're going to be doing that coming up 6:35.
Are we talking about mooning again?
No.
Okay.
We're talking about drug dealers on strange vehicles slinging crack throughout mid-Missouri.
Okay.
Meanwhile, we are getting ready for the daily D.C. Rundown with Stephanie Bell. That's coming up in a few minutes. So I do kind of want to recap the weather here real quick. Today, it looks like it's just going to be hot, sunshine hot. We'll get close to 100 degrees, and then the heat index obviously going to be way higher than that, and then hopefully some rain coming in the next few days. Daily DC Rundown coming up 6:25.
I hope our Attorney General has been practicing his whack-a-mole skills because Biden's got another plan for
as a 2024 battleground. Democrats believe they can defeat vulnerable House Republicans who voted to block President Biden's forgiveness plan for student loans.
And this continues to be a news story. You know, paying back loans, and this should not be a news story, but Stephanie's telling us it is. So let's get right into it. It's 6:25. Time for the Daily DC Rundown with Stephanie Bell.
In Missouri, through Attorney General Schmidt, and Bailey led the charge the last time to tell Biden he couldn't do this, and now he has another plan. It's called the Student Loan Safety Net, or the SAVE plan. He says millions of people will have their monthly payments reduced to zero. Now, interestingly, this plan has been around for about a year and has been around, but it was overshadowed by the student loan forgiveness plan. But now it's popped back up. And we're going to play a giant game of whack-a-mole, hopefully, but it's not under
Poor Hannah. Here she goes on that roller coaster ride again.
It's not under the HEROES Act, but they are saying the typical borrower who enrolls in the plan will save $1,000 a month, but the cost of the plan is quite significant. Even with the other plan that was still in play, they said it was going to cost $230 billion, but now that we're not wiping everybody else's out, if more people are eligible for this plan, so they're saying it could cost $361
So this would
billion
cost more?
dollars. Well, more if we don't have both plans in place.
Hannah, let me ask you. We know you're conservative chops, but seriously, somebody, and you know what Joe's doing, but that emotional roller coaster is somebody that would be affected by this. Like, how does it shape your opinion of the current president?
I mean, it couldn't have gotten much worse before all this happened, but now the disdain and hatred is just much worse. I feel like that kid on the roller coaster who probably shouldn't have gotten on, that in the middle of the first loop,
like, let me off of this thing.
I'm gonna barf.
Well, we will see where that SAVE Act goes. In the meantime, FBI Director Chris Wray is on the hot seat in Congress today. He has an appearance before the House Judiciary Committee. Republicans are expected to ask him about the walls are closing in, Joe Biden's son Hunter, and the recent indictment of Trump.
This could be the day.
Also, Gavin Newsom is in his second term. He had all sorts of problems in his first term, wildfires, utility bankruptcy, obviously COVID. But now he's also but he had a budget surplus at the time, and California is not doing well. Apparently, he just signed a budget it delayed and borrowed to cover $31.5 billion in a deficit. He's trying to talk to his staff and nothing to see here. Everything's okay. We're going to ride it out through the second term, but major problems in California. Also, new polling out on abortion. The majority of U.S. adults, including those living in states with abortion restrictions, want it to be legal at least through the initial stages of pregnancy. This I found to be really interesting. So overall, 2/3 of Americans say generally abortion should be legal. Only about 1 in 10 says it should always be illegal. And about a quarter say it should always be legal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's interesting because, again, I'll say the 2022 Big Red Wave. We recently had the folks from the, Faith and Family. I forget the name of the organization, but we talked about that. And he said, well, I don't think that abortion was the only issue. And I said, well, what happened? It was a sure thing. And then that was the only thing that all of a sudden got different. So don't tell me that it wasn't the abortion issue. But his contention, and I might agree with this, is that that's not going to be even maybe a top 3 tier for somebody when it comes to voting. I don't know. The economy obviously will be number one.
Well, and here in Missouri, folks are trying to put it on the ballot, so it might be forced to the front of the line in as far as the 2024 ballot goes.
And that's your Daily DC Rundown with Stephanie Bell coming up. By the way, how do other countries, how do they view climate change? We'll check in with UK and Spain. And also, the only thing better than criminals behaving badly is when they're Mid-Missouri criminals behaving badly. Several of those stories coming up about 5 minutes from now here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri.
I think just local news is the most important stuff to me, even though it's kind of bad stuff going on around me, but it's the most relevant to me.
Where I come from, there's an old plowboy out turning up dirt. Where I come from, there's a preacher man in a cowboy shirt. Where I come from, where a couple boys fight in the parking lot. No, nobody's gonna call the cops. Where I come from, see that door right there? Man, I swear that it ain't never been locked. And I guarantee.
We're going nowhere. What are you feeling? We're going nowhere. Why won't you talk to me?
It's got the market. Sit down, the money. Sit down. Where's the money?
This is a dude in Atlanta trying to rob a nail salon.
Give me the money. Where's the money?
Give me your money.
Everybody give me everything.
Everybody give me everything.
Where's the money?
And this goes on. And it goes on.
They're like, my nail polish is wet. I'm not digging in my purse. I just paid for this manicure.
The dude, you know how much money the dude walked out of that nail salon with?
50 cents.
Basically, he walked out with nothing. John, you know what they did to thwart this robbery in Atlanta? They ignored.
I have no idea.
They ignored the dude.
They probably didn't speak English in a nail salon.
They did. They just ignored the dude, or they didn't understand what he was saying. I had not considered that possibility, Marsh. That might be. He's in there. Give me all your money. Give me. And people are just looking at him like, man, I'm getting my nails did right now. Can you come back later? He walked out of that place with no money.
And that is the level of minding your own business that everyone should strive for.
I admire people who can do that. My brother, my younger brother, man, he was so good. You know, we talk, and I say this a lot, and sometimes I'm even truthful when I say it, but like, it's none of my business what other people think about me. Whatever your opinion is of me, it's not my business, and I don't care what you think of me, is what I say.
I was going to say, you say that often.
Right. But
your actions would dictate otherwise.
You totally care. You will send a text and then worry about it for like 24 to 48 hours, and then we'll have to have a conversation about it. Did this text make you?
Did it offend you?
Are you mad about it? What's going on? And I'm like, what is?
Was it too sappy?
It's like, no, I was busy. Leave me alone.
So sometimes I'm honest when I say it's none of my business what people think about me. My brother was a master at that. I don't care, man. This carefree attitude. But yeah, level of minding your own business. Hannah is right. Welcome into the show. That's Dumb Criminal. We have some stories of local dumb criminals that we're going to cover, but I want to mention this first as we move on here with Wake Up Mid-Missouri. I'm Branden Rathert, Stephanie Bell, and if you're watching on the YouTube channel, several folks, by the way, watching. And we appreciate that. You can watch on our YouTube channel. You can also watch on the Facebook page. Shouts out to Alexander and Clayton. We appreciate you watching the show. You'll see Steph putting on her makeup right now. You'll see Hannah over there on a roller coaster because now Joe wants to try to do more stuff with student loans. And Hannah, who is a conservative, who did not vote for Joe, is on this roller coaster ride. She's getting whiplash.
Did you get more emails? Because they were emailing there for a while, like updates, because you had actually applied. Have you gotten emails since the Supreme Court decision?
We just got one. It was a big, long statement from the Secretary of Education.
And so none that maybe you're eligible for this potentially new SAVE Act?
No, not yet.
So I bring that up because there's been another incident with a roller coaster. By the way, these next three stories, if you're getting ready to go to Six Flags or Silver Dollar City, you're not going to like these stories.
Trigger warning.
Georgia roller coaster stalls mid-ride. Left folks hanging upside down for a period of time. There was just one, was it Chicago? Week ago, 2 weeks ago.
There was one at a fair.
At a fair, they got hung upside down. That's got to be incredibly frightening. And then in Georgia Amusement Park, boy, on one of those those water slides with those tubes, those scare me more than any roller coaster in the entire state of Missouri. You get me on one of those water slides at the Lake of the Ozarks, I get worried. I'm flipping out of the tube, man.
It was wasn't it Kansas where the elected official's son passed away from that big water slide? Those things are scary.
He got decapitated, I think.
Yeah, it was really scary. I went on one recently as an adult with little Eden, and I sent her down first.
Here, kid, you try it first. You let Mama know how it is. You get down to the bottom. You wave your arms. It's all good down here, Mom.
We climbed up, and we thought we could ride together on the raft. And then they're like, no, you have to go by yourself. And so my other kids were first, then her, then me. And as I'm going down, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so scary. And I thought, I have scarred my child for life. I get down, I look at her, and I'm like, how was it? And she was like, it was great. And I was like, okay. And I was like, Mom's not going to do that one again. But they're scary.
You know, almost even scarier than getting stuck on a roller coaster. I was watching a video of a dude who got stuck in a water slide. Like one of the little hills, he just didn't quite make it. And so he kind of, slid backwards. They had to open the hatch of the water slide to get him out. That's scary to me because it's dark. You're in a small tube. You don't know which way is up, which way is down.
That's the one I was in. It was all dark, and I found it to be very frightening.
Watch out for the big dude behind you, especially.
Yes.
Watch who's behind you on the ride.
Well, maybe you wouldn't be stuck for long, depending on the size of the person.
Shoot you right out the end of it.
That roller coaster a couple of weeks ago where, folks, you saw it moving because there was a crack in one of the support beams.
I saw what they did to fix it.
Was it duct tape?
It was pretty much saran wrap is what it looked like.
They've announced we're going to fix it.
Thank you.
Right. Parks, yeah, we're going to fix that.
Was there a different option?
I know. Was there a B option?
They're like, our lawyers and insurance agents saw the saran wrap and game's up.
Man, welcome to summertime here in mid-Missouri. This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri. I'm Brandon. That's Steph. There's John Marsh. Brian Hausworth is here. Producer Hannah is here. Something we can do for you. You can text us 573-874-9390. 573-874-9390. So, we talk about illegal immigration and bleeding heart liberals, rainbows and unicorns. We're all humans. We all get along. And I agree with a lot of that. But still, there are rules and there are laws and there are reasons that rules and laws are in place. So illegal immigration, this is why it matters, because the fentanyl is just one of the things. There are a lot of reasons. You think about the resources that those local entities, especially ones along the border, they're having to use all this county taxpayer money with very little help from the federal government. The federal government is the one causing the problem, but it's the local municipalities that are like, we don't have the money to pay for this. The other thing that happens is the fentanyl that comes into mid-Missouri. Columbia man charged with 2 counts of possession of a controlled substance at a county jail. And here's what got me on this story, Steph. The headline. Boone County, this from KRCG. Boone County deputies find crack inside suspect.
Oh.
That gets my attention, John.
Yep, pretty much.
You have my attention.
What were the firefighters doing up there?
This, according to KRCG, court documents said 1:42 p.m. This was Monday afternoon. Boone County deputies stopped a 46-year-old dude on an orange moped at the intersection of Eastwood Circle and Business Loop 70 because they knew he had an active felony warrant issued in Pulaski County. Inside the Boone County Jail, deputies put him through the body scanner, and the body scanner alerted them to the presence of an anomaly inside Wilson.
Oh, my God.
An anomaly.
It's an anomaly.
I don't know how that got there, officer.
Is that what you call it? Oh, what's that? Oh, it's just an anomaly.
It's like a cyst or something. Don't worry about it.
Several small bags were found.
So they did an unclothed search. Whose job is that, by the way?
The new guy.
Oh, God.
This is, that is. You think about the folks that, I know someone who worked at a jail, and you think about the people who eat it, and then they literally just have to wait for that person to.
Hey, where's my stuff, man?
Use the
Hold
bathroom.
up, dude. You gotta wait.
And that's their whole job, is just watching the guy waiting, or gal.
Yeah.
Then do they have to dig it out?
I don't know.
These are reasonable questions. Once inside the Boone County Jail, they discovered the anomaly. Some people call it crack. They called it the anomaly. They did an unclothed search. Feel bad for the person that had to do that. And I know, how does that work? Is it gloves and you like have a pen flashlight in your mouth at the same time while you're, I don't know how it works, man.
Don't they make you squat and cough?
Oh, gross.
No, I'm serious. I think you squat and cough and it works its way out.
Huh. Maybe a doctor or a jailer could call us at 874.
Right. Maybe a corrections officer.
That's super dangerous, though. That's like, it is.
Checking or the swallow? The officer, it's dangerous.
No,
for
the person
officer.
with all these drugs inside their body.
Yeah, boy, all kidding aside, something ruptures, you may be over
You're
with
dead.
pretty quick.
So these anomalies tested positive for crack, fentanyl, and an assortment of different colored pills hidden inside Wilson's rectum. Boone County prosecutors charged him with 2 counts of possession of a controlled substance at a county jail. Dumb criminals in the news doing dumb things.
Corrections officers call that keystering, is the term.
Are you serious?
Yes.
All right. By the way, we want to say hello to Dennis off the text listening in Bloomington, Illinois this morning. Man, We appreciate that. I got some more quick dumb criminal stories. William Jefferson City man charged for firing a weapon. And John, these stories get me. William Freeman. This guy, I guess, apparently he's on video shooting a gun and stuff like that. But here's the thing: that we talk about gun control. This dude should not have even been having a gun. Prosecutors charged him with unlawful possession of a firearm. And I can go on. We've got more fentanyl busts because why this matters. You talk about the illegal immigration. This is how it affects us in mid-Missouri. An apartment building, 1200 block of Old 63 South in Columbia. Cops arrest a dude. Fentanyl. Miller County traffic stop. Fentanyl. This is in Miller County. Who thinks this kind of stuff happens in good old Miller County? Nobody. But because of Joe Biden's lax policies on the border, this stuff comes through. Phelps County. Rolla officers find fentanyl on a dude. Oh yeah, remember that bus driver a couple months back from Jefferson City, John, who had a very, very bad day.
Had a run in with not only the kids but several mailboxes.
Yeah, we have an update on that dude. The guy was just having a bad day, kicked the kids off the bus, backed up, ran over some mailboxes, and for good measure, did it again. There's an update to his story. Let's do that. We're going to do that coming up about 5 minutes from now. Raven Harrison talking about the
So my first reaction is to escape from the car. I thought I could make it because I got a truck.
All right, whether it's flooding in Vermont, whether it's extreme drought here in mid-Missouri, this woman has, I think it's great life advice. She lost her car. Car started floating away. Her reaction? Oh, snap! That's the proper way to handle things in life.
Kudos to her to not saying anything stronger.
Right.
Because I would have been cussing up a storm.
Snap is not the S word that I probably would have used at that moment in time, John, but you get her. Like, what are you going to do? The car's floating away. Nothing I can do about it now. I'm just going to go, snap. Welcome to the show. Up to about 100 today. Heat index over 100 and then thunderstorms. Kind of a timeline on this, Marsh. The potential for rain is what I'm excited about. Some of the other things you've been talking about weather-wise, that's not exciting me, though.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the severe weather, any potential, they were saying anywhere from about 4 this afternoon right on into the middle of the night, and then maybe out of here by the time we all come to work in the morning. But there's potential for high winds and up to 1-inch hail for parts of mid-Missouri, but they're still kind of sketchy on the path of the storm and how it's going to play out. So keep it right here, and we'll keep you posted.
So clear your garage so you can actually park your car in the garage.
Bold of
That's
you to
me.
assume we all have garages,
I know.
Stephanie.
Last time I covered my sister's car in
How poor were you? We are so poor we growed up without a garage.
I don't have central air either.
And we didn't have a car to park in the garage anyway. That's how poor we were.
We were so poor that we went to KFC just to lick other people's fingers.
All right, Stephanie, what were you saying?
I have a pro tip. If you have a little kid's carpet, you can throw that over your windshield, and we fared okay the last time. I've got a fun picture of it. It looks pretty poor.
But the hail, man, we've seen it
It's
several
bad.
times already this year. As a matter of fact, I have a car sitting out in the parking lot here at the Zimmer Worldwide headquarters, almost as old as Hannah, and it's got hail damage on it, and I'm not getting it fixed.
I was going to say, I thought you got it fixed.
Nope, I got the check, but I ain't getting it fixed, man.
Oh,
That shit
Brandon.
is cosmetic. I'm not fixing it. Welcome to the show. This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri, and I hope I'm going to ask for a favor from you here real quick. When you get into work this morning, wherever it is that you're going, would you mind to tell a friend or a coworker, hey, do you listen to that Wake Up Mid-Missouri on 93.9 The Eagle and 104.5 News Radio 950 KWS? Just ask around. Ask if they're listening, and if they're not, then say, hey, man, would you check it out? A couple of things on climate change before we get to an update on this bus driver who flipped his lid a couple of months ago, and I loved this story. I loved what this guy did. No kids were hurt in the making of this story, by the way. Climate change in other countries. I want to tell you about Teresa Ribera. Teresa Ribera, she's the Spanish climate minister. She is to Spain what John Kerry is to the United States of America. Caught on video going to a big climate conference in a big old SUV, convoy of vehicles. They get a block out from the place, and what does she do? She gets into the back of the SUV. She pulls out a bike.
She pulled a Buttigieg.
Pull straight out of the Pete Buttigieg playbook.
Yeah.
This is what they do. They get to the last block of the place, they pull out a bike, and meanwhile, the car sits there and idles, and as I understand it, a car emits more emissions whenever it's sitting and idling, waiting for the bike to come back. It's a photo op. And then check this out. In the UK, as, of course, that's where Joe Biden has been over in Europe, Grant Shapps. He's a member of this this climate change board or whatever, and he's saying, listen, our government, it's idiotic to suggest that we are ready to go full-fledged electricity. We still need fossil fuels, and what you guys just don't know what we're doing. So that's climate change in other countries. Meanwhile, in our country and in our state, bus driver, Jefferson City, a couple of months ago, having a bad day, kicked kids off the bus, revved up the bus, put it into reverse, backed up over some mailboxes, pulled off and said, I ain't done. Put it in reverse again. He revved that puppy up again, and for good measures, ran over those mailboxes again, got arrested, got charged.
Well, yeah, unfortunately for him, as he's doing that, one of the kids had the wherewithal to call the school. Was it the school bus company or the school?
I think the school.
There's an update to this story.
2 kids also got off the bus and refused to get back on and walked home. That would have been me, but props to those kids for just being like, I'm out. So he went to court, and apparently argued that he was indigent and that he could not afford a lawyer and that he needed a court-appointed public defender. But somebody, I guess the public defender's office, filed a motion for reconsideration. I mean, do you know how much that bus driver pay is now? It's gotten better. I mean, they're in shortages, and so I think their hourly rate's up there. But anyway, the court said, you got enough money. You're going to have to retain your own lawyer. The case has been continued until August 25th.
He's facing like 30 counts of endangering the welfare of a child, along with everything else.
28 counts, first-degree property damage, which is a Class E felony, and imprudent driving.
John, it was 30 before the other two kids refused to get back on.
28. There you go.
Coming up a little bit after 7 o'clock, Raven Harrison is going to be joining us. She's here on Fox all the time. Remember when Joe said this?
If you ever
Rathert, featuring Stephanie Bell, news director Brian Houseworth, John Marsh, and Hannah, the producer.
This is why we listen to you.
Get ready, pal. And now, here's your host, Branden Rathert.
If you're ever working with me and I hear you treat another colleague with disrespect, talk down to someone, I promise you I will fire you on the spot. On the spot. No ifs, ands, or buts. Everybody is entitled to be treated with decency and dignity. That's been missing in a big way the last 4 years.
Everybody's entitled to that, unless you work for me. Remember that? That's the inauguration during those tragic events of January the 20th of 2021. Joe Biden, disrespect. And then remember, it was a reporter or one of his male staffers, like within 30 days of him saying that, one of his male staffers being inappropriate to a female reporter.
And he reimagined his position.
All of a sudden he evolved, and he did it very quickly. Want to bring in Raven Harrison, RavenHarrison.com. By the way, kind of interesting this morning. So we've got some pretty significant news, I think, on the political front in the Show Me State. And we have State Senator Holly Rehder, rep Southeast Missouri, announcing yesterday, she says, I'm going to run for lieutenant governor of Missouri. She's joining us 8:10. She has a book. It's a really good book called Cinder Girl, and it details her life moving from trailer park to trailer park while her mom was sleeping around with all these different dudes and stuff. Crazy childhood. And usually we don't bring people on to talk about their books, and we're not going to do that with Holly, but she has a book. And Raven Harrison, RavenHarrison.com, has a book, Raven's Mantle, and it is really, really good. It is really good. But Raven, you know, we don't bring folks on to talk about their books and stuff, but I do want to get your opinion on the hypocrisy of Joe Biden. You heard what he said during the inaugural event several years ago, and now apparently there's reports he is a real SOB to work for. What's your reaction to that?
I'm going to feign some surprise here, but people have to remember that this is the same guy who said that he called a constituent a lying dog-faced pony soldier to her face, and it was a woman, and I could not believe that all the people, all the feminists, all the leftists that allowed him to get away with that. I mean, he's been caught on multiple occasions screaming, whispering. He said he was going to take, Trump out back and beat the crap out of him, and he's challenged people to push-ups. He's been a real SOB for a real long time, and people have been like, well, it's okay as long as there's no mean tweets. But he can abuse his staff.
That's right, and that's the take from Raven. He's not just an SOB. He's a real SOB behind closed doors. Biden has such a quick trigger temper that some aides try to avoid meeting alone with him. Some take a colleague almost as a shield against a solo blast. GD, how the F don't you know this? Don't FBS me. And apparently this is just a common thing, the way he treats people. And this is what I don't get, Raven. And I think it's a perfect study in the hypocrisy of these progressives, because progressives, the party of rainbows and unicorns, and let's all love one another and get along. And I do believe in some of that. But when you're treating people this way, and as a grandfather, you refuse to acknowledge your grandchild from your son, I don't understand in any good conscience how any person can say that's the guy I'm voting for. You know what I mean?
I absolutely do, and I get this a lot. Being a person of color, I can't even tell you if I had $1 for every time somebody said, "How can you vote for that person?" or "How can you feel like this?" And I'm like, "You want to tell me how to be a minority? I got this. Go sit down. I've been doing this for a long time." I tell people that that's the essence of the intolerance. The fact that when I say something that surprises people when they're not used to, that's when you really get to see who's tolerant and who's accepting. Them trying to tell me how to think, feel, and vote is no different than any other time in the past when you try to control a group of people or you think they should do this, they should do that. Until you walked a mile in somebody's shoes, you really don't have the right to tell them, how they should process. And that's something I don't do. I give people the facts. This is what it is. And you can make your own decision. You decide how you want to do it. But it is really scathing hypocrisy that people will tolerate this from one side, especially from the group that claims to be the party of tolerance. Unless it's her. Unless it's him.
Raven Harrison, RavenHarrison.com, hanging out with us on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. I'm Branden Rathert. There's Stephanie Bell.
Good morning.
There's producer Hannah.
Hello.
Mr. Marsh is in the house.
Good morning.
Brian Houseworth is here, too. Potential for some severe weather tonight. I'm hoping we get some of that rain, hoping we don't get the heavy wind and hail that's going to be predicted for tonight. We're going to be covering some more of that. Raven Harrison, RavenHarrison.com, does a lot of stuff with Fox and has the book Raven's Mantle. It is a really, really good book. And that's interesting. You talk about the intolerance. There is a lawmaker in Georgia. She is a state lawmaker. Her name is Misha Maynor. She was a Democrat. She switched parties yesterday. And I think this is context. So I'll say she is a black Democrat. So we know what's going to happen. She has switched to the Republican Party. Governor Brian Kemp, Republican, said this yesterday, and this kind of ties into your comments about being open to other people's ideas.
What it reflects is a reality about where there is a political home where diversity of opinion is welcomed.
He said what you just said, Raven. And the hypocrisy, and I know we're using that word a lot here, but it's right. The progressives and these Democrats, people like a David Tyson Smith, Barbara Buffalo, people like that, were tolerant, except they're not tolerant of other people's ideas.
Well, correct. And like I said, they didn't have a problem with free speech until they couldn't control it anymore. You're seeing Joe Biden trying to continue the Supreme Court to keep censoring Americans. I mean, that's our First Amendment. How is he even in court? The president of the United States is in court trying to keep a stay to allow him to continue to kick people off social media for saying things that he doesn't like. That is the essence of why we have the First Amendment. We should be allowed to question our government. We should be allowed, to question ideas. And I've had many people of color tell me they can't switch because they'll be canceled. Well, you don't even see the problem with that. That's not an okay reason to do anything. It's because you're being bullied and forced to. And I'm just not one of those people. I applaud her effort because it does take bravery to be disliked.
Now, last week, I believe it was, you shared with us that you actually homeschool your kids, and we're seeing it's not new data, but continued data that kids, even after COVID, are still continuing learning loss despite federal aid. And I guess in at least one circumstance, a former principal said, yeah, she's not that surprised. I don't think a lot of us are surprised that kids are struggling after what the government did to them. Tell us about your choice to keep your kids at home and how you're, fighting back against any sort of learning loss.
Well, I feel like this was a choice that was actually forced upon me as their mother. That's my primary job, is to protect my kids. And we came to homeschooling just, things we saw in the school that we didn't like. But as a parent, I'm trying to support and back up the teachers. And it must be this. I saw the kids struggle firsthand during the lockdowns. My daughter felt isolated and down, and, my son withdrew, and it culminated when in March of 2017, several months after President Trump was elected, I got a call from the school 10 minutes before the end of school saying that they were expelling my 8-year-old daughter for voting for Trump in a mock election. And I can't even tell you, this is a G show for most people, but it was not a pretty sight. And I immediately pulled them into homeschool. And then saw, oh my goodness, where there's big holes. I told my daughter, it says, you're learning geometry. What's geometry? I don't know. What's a rhombus? I don't know. What's trapezoid? I said, what do you know? And she said, well, if I use the wrong pronouns, then I'm going to get suspended. And I was on the floor. So as time went on, I just realized I can do it. I have a lot of people, I'm too busy. I have, too much going on. I have to work. Well, all those things are true for me, but what's more important than securing their future, unless I'm just paying it lip service? So that's what started the conservative warrior. That's what started this whole journey.
All right, and that is stunning, because a lot of people, these things don't really happen in schools. Did you hear what Raven just said? Her daughter was suspended, kicked out of school, expelled from the school. We don't want you back, because in a mock fake election with little kids, she voted for Trump. We have a public school district, Columbia Public School District. They take kids to a show, and they have drag dancers, and then they have elected officials tipping these drag dancers. So there are a lot of similarities, and you see how dangerous this stuff is. Our guest, Raven Harrison, RavenHarrison.com. Incredible book, too, Raven's Mantle, Fighting the Betrayal of America. So let me ask you on the homeschooling stuff, because you're right, and I do hear that a lot from other parents. I've never done homeschoolings. I don't know. But the time, you talked about time constraints, other responsibilities. Tell us about the fear going into that and then compare it to what it's like now that you've been doing it for several years. That's got to be scary as a mom to do that.
It was very scary at that time, Brandon, because this happened on a Friday. We're on the weekend. I had never considered homeschooling. I didn't know how to start. I didn't know what to do. I kind of, in my mind, had this is kind of an Amish thing, right? I just didn't understand, what to do. And then I started doing what I do, which is I calm down, I give it to God, and then I started researching. I found a great online where the curriculum is laid out. I'm there as a guide. I could go between. The kids loved it. I started finding co-ops, and I started finding out I wasn't alone. I started finding field trip groups for homeschool kids, so they can do everything now they could do in regular school, and the moms will step up. I'm busy. I take them with me. I travel. We teach them things on the road. I adjust my schedule, and then other moms will step in and teach class. And we do it together. We pool our resources, and you realize you're not alone, and these kids are thriving. They're 2 grade levels ahead of where they were. They're learning. We have people in sophomore year in high school who say they haven't touched a history book in 4 years. So they're not being prepared for what they're going to face.
Yeah. It's crazy what they are doing in schools and teachers unions. And as Stephanie was saying, these schools, they're baffled at why test scores are so poor. There was millions of smart people when this government pandemic, this was not a COVID pandemic. This was a pandemic of government actions. COVID had nothing to do with this. This was people making these decisions to keep kids out of school. And there was a bunch of us, Raven, saying, these kids, these 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old kids, keeping them out of school, and it's not really going to affect them anyway. This is going to cause long-term problems. They said, it's not going to do that. And now they're all standing around going, what the heck are we going to do? Raven Harrison, RavenHarrison.com. Still working on some dates and times. You're going to come see us here in Midmo?
Oh, yes. Coming up soon.
All right. Well, we are looking forward to that. Raven Harrison, do yourself a favor. Check out our website, RavenHarrison.com. You might even check out her book, Raven's Mantle. It really is good. You see her she does a lot of stuff with Fox. Raven, we love you here in mid-Missouri, and we'll chat with you next week.
We love you guys, too. Thanks so much.
Coming up 7:25-ish, we're going to be doing What's Hot with Hannah.
Well, we've been talking about dumb criminals this morning, and I figured I would just extend that.
All right. And I think we've got some Liepins, it's
7:25.
time for What's Hot with Hannah.
You know, the trend that we've been seeing on the show this morning is we've been having fun sharing stories of dumb criminals.
Dude in Colombia slinging crack on a moped, bebopping through town.
I think as far as locally goes, my favorite dumb criminal story is the guy who put what appeared to be granny panties on his head and robbed a gas station with a rifle.
Is that like Moberly or Mexico several years? The Panty Bandit.
Yeah.
That was classic.
And it was just before COVID, I think. So we were like, maybe he's just wearing a face mask.
But he had the wrong end facing the wrong way, and it didn't go well for the guy.
Right. This criminal comes to us from Lincoln, Nebraska, and he got pulled over on his motorcycle. It's a 20-year-old dude. Go figure. It was a dude.
Yep.
He got pulled over, and the deputy said that he was going 106 miles per hour. It's pretty fast, right?
Pretty fast on a motorcycle.
Yeah, motorcycle no less. Unfortunately, the 20-year-old gentleman was on his way home from court where he had been charged with a couple speeding offenses and had to pay some fines. And yeah, didn't even make it home before he got caught again. Then had to face some more charges for driving under suspension, speeding, and careless driving. So he didn't even make it home from his court date before he got busted again.
Some people never learn, and that's What's Hot with Hannah this morning.
I think it's dudes never learn because we were comparing stupid criminals between the guys. Because there's a woman who's in the news for a pretty serious crime. She embezzled a whole bunch of money.
Like over $500,000.
Yeah. This was People's Bank of Montauk County pled guilty over $500,000.
How do you have an extra $500,000 in your pocket and like people around you aren't? Where do they think you got it?
It's not like you're at the White House and you're dropping a little packet of cocaine out of your pocket. You don't just lose $500,000.
Apparently you do.
Apparently you do. Stephanie is correct. So you compare that. And why is it, and I think another interesting story, or my take anyway, and I don't have exact numbers, but it seems like usually when people get in trouble for embezzling, it's usually women. And the person that gets nabbed for speeding after getting in trouble coming home from court because of appearances for speeding, and you get home and you're going home and you get busted for speeding again, totally a dude thing. But why is it? It seems like it's mostly women that are stealing.
Because women are smarter.
She's sitting in like an air-conditioned bank writing checks to herself or something, and this other dude is shoving things up into his body cavities riding an orange moped. Clearly. It's an IQ difference.
Two types of people.
874-9390. Paul is in Columbia, wants to talk about a scam. Paul, we got about 60 seconds. What's up, buddy?
Oh, it's going to be hard, but I'll go. Yeah, 2 days in a row, I was at a break time in Boonville. A very fancy SUV drove up, and a guy speaking, he was an immigrant, knew the U.S., had a story, and somebody stole his wallet, and he wanted me to take his Rolex in exchange for money, and I offered to fill up his tank of gas. No, I got to get back to Miami, so on and so forth. And I gave him $10. That's about all I had in my wallet. And but his wife was pregnant and kept pressuring me. But I felt comfortable with the decision I made, even though, man, he was leaning on heavy.
Yeah.
Yesterday, one day later, same gas station, another fancy BMW SUV comes up, and this guy wasn't nearly as smooth.
and the American people want the truth. I just speak hard truths. You've got some people who are mad that I don't love Trump 100% of the time. I don't love my husband 100% of the time. You've got some people who are upset that I don't disagree with him 100% of the time. I think he was the right president at the right time.
And I agree with Nikki Haley there. That is interesting. But I don't even love my husband 100% of the time.
You agree with her on that point?
No, wait. Let me reframe that. What am I trying to say here?
You don't love your husband 100% of the time?
You should love your spouse 100% of the time, even if you don't like what they're doing. Do you love your fiance 100% of the time?
Of course.
Steph?
Yeah, but I think she was
She's trying to say I get mad at him once in a while, and I'll call him out on it because and I'll say this, please don't get mad, but I'll tell you who are some of the most triggered people. Trump supporters, you say. Seriously, because we've seen it here on the show. Trump supporters. They are just about, and please don't be mad, I'm just talking from experience here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri, they get triggered if you say anything that's truthful about Trump that is negative. And I love Trump. Did I ever tell you the story about 2015, Hannah, when Trump announced he was running for president? Did I ever tell you about the flack that we caught here on the show?
Yeah, you might have mentioned it a couple times.
I think we should ask Brandon's dad, do you love Brandon 100% of the time? But you've talked about how it's kind of tough love that, he obviously he loves you 100% of the time, but he's willing to tell you when you're off track.
And that's what Nikki Haley is saying. So how does it work? You love your husband 100% of the time?
I think so.
I think so. I'm not real sure. Ask me later. I love the answer. That's Stephanie Bell, producer Hannah. Mr. John Marsh is here.
Yes, sir.
Coming up 8:10, State Senator. This is pretty impactful, I think. State Senator Holly Rehder. We have watched her ascension in Missouri politics. She is a state senator, Southeast Missouri, announcing she is running for lieutenant governor of Missouri. Hear what she has to say and let your friends know she's going to be on the show coming up here at 8:10. Some of the other things we are working on for you this morning. The world's smallest blank, as it turns out, is in Missouri. Stop it. Stop it.
What did I walk into here this morning?
That voice, by the way, my name is Branden. That voice you're hearing is one of our coworkers. His name is Doug. We call him Doug Coda because he is from
North Dakota, where everyone is named Doug, apparently.
And the presidential frontrunner right now, Doug Burgum, is the mayor of North Dakota. And there's some Doug Burgum news this morning that we wanted to get with Doug, who incidentally happens to be celebrating a birthday today. Which birthday is it for you?
I had to really think about that. Yep. You get to a certain point where it's your birthday, but then there's math.
Do you do this?
I'm just really bad at math.
Do you wait?
I think it's 54.
You should have just tried being born in the year 2000, and then it's real easy.
Even. I was 1 year off. It was summer of '69 I was born in, so that makes a lot of math then. Yeah.
Do you ever wake up on the day of your birthday and you forget? Oh yeah, it's my birthday.
I totally did today.
That's how disinterested that I get in my birthday. And here's the other thing: people will say happy and they'll congratulate you all day long. I'll give you $1 if you say, "Listen, I didn't have anything to do with this. It's really not that big of a deal. I had no play in this.
Nope,
whatsoever."
Well, it's hard here because you got that thing on the back of your chair, and they do an amazing job of celebrating the birthdays here.
So a couple of pieces of presidential news. Ron DeSantis, who the polls echo what I've been saying for a long time. Polls would show he has a far better chance of beating Joe Biden than Donald Trump does. However, the problem is he can't get out of the primary for what polling is worth a year prior to any primaries. And I think there's a lot of talk. His campaign is just on the ropes. It's just not. It's almost like Elon Musk and Twitter. Since he's launched, it's kind of like,
Yeah, and I learned a piece of news about him recently that has me thinking twice.
I don't know if we should share that information, Stephanie.
I think it'd have other people thinking twice, too.
So what did he do? That's kind of got you looking a little bit harder at the idea of potentially voting for DeSantis, the guy who has a better chance than anybody else right now of beating Trump.
I learned this week that apparently he got married at Disney, which kind of makes him like a Disney adult. And I don't know why, but that is like gives me the super ick. Like that's so weird. And I actually fact checked that. I'm like, no, he didn't.
Please tell me it's not true.
And apparently he did. And I don't know if I can recover.
What a full circle moment, though. Like, that he got married at Disney and then years later had beef with Disney.
Apparently, when he was asked about it, he's like, well, I didn't get married in front of the Magic Kingdom. And I don't know if he was asked, but like people are explaining it away. Like he was just married in a hotel that was like on the property. And I'm like,
really?
John, do you buy that? Well, but I didn't get married in front of the Magic Kingdom.
The backstory I heard on it that Minnie Mouse was actually the maid of honor. And
I think he did say no characters in the wedding. I'm sorry, if you invite me to your wedding at Disney, I am not coming. Zero chance.
So Trump is Tucker Carlson. He's going to be doing some presidential candidate forum. Trump's not doing it, and that kind of surprised me. But he is going to be doing. There's another thing coming up on Fox, and then also some Vivek Ramaswamy. I thought this was pretty interesting, and we do have news. That's why we brought in Doug from Dakota. Vivek Ramaswamy in Iowa, and I thought he did something really, really interesting. This woman she interrupts his speech or whatever, and he's like, you know what? Let her talk. Let's hear what she has to say.
If somebody non-consensually rapes me, I'm not having their child. This is my choice.
She's talking about abortion and rape. She's like, this idea that some of these GOP contenders want to outlaw abortion if I have been raped, she's calling it out. Whatever your issue is on that, that's not the point. The point is, instead of Vivek Ramaswamy getting into an argument, trying to match wits with her and shout her down in a public fashion, because that's what she was doing to him, he said, okay, let's listen to what you have to say. That is impressive. That's impressive. Let's listen to what you have to say, because we don't see that in politics. It's me. I got to win my argument. I got to prove to you that I'm right. How often have you heard somebody say, okay, let me hear what you have to say. Now, there's some things I will not listen to you on anymore because it's a done deal. God created man, God created woman, and Democrats created all the other genders. So I'm not listening to any more conversations on that. But most of these things I will listen, and that was impressive by Vivek Ramaswamy, who's been on this show. And I'm in Stephanie's corner on Vivek Ramaswamy. Not going to win, but man, he's sharp. He really is.
I like him a lot.
Love him a lot. Doug Burgum, mayor of North Dakota, also running for president. There's some news on him. What is he doing to try to jack up his campaign?
Well, he's giving, basically, if you donate $1 to his campaign, he's going to give you a gift card for $20. It's a Biden relief card, I think he's calling it.
So he's taking a page out of the playbook of Bud Light, in effect.
Kind of, yeah. So he's been doing that. He's got the money. He's worth a lot of money.
So was it only like good for Lefse and Chippers and stuff up there?
It could be. Yeah, it's only good for certain things. But yeah, no, I think it's a legitimate, $20.
Hannah's like $20. I was hoping for 10 G's.
Yeah.
Hey, I will take what I can get at this point.
But he's actually smart. So I don't know. No, he is though.
He's
really
actually smart.
But so one reason why you would do this is if you want to get on the debate stage, you have to have so many individual donations. That's how they've qualified you to get on the stage. And so he's essentially paying $20 for each individual donation in an attempt to qualify him. So think about, you could spend, all this money traveling around trying to get enough popularity, trying to get with all these people in the race. There's no way you're going to hit that threshold. DeSantis and Trump have that locked down, on pure popularity, but he might buy himself his way into the debate, which actually is kind of smart.
And you're not going to, and from his home state of North Dakota, I don't know if you've looked at the U.S. Census Bureaus recently, but there's like 18 people that live in North Dakota. So even his home state is not much of a launch pad for him. So so we know what's being said about the guy nationally, and that is, hey, he's probably good at whatever he does, but no name recognition. What do your friends in North Dakota say?
He was never a politician. I mean, I think running for governor was the first time he ran for office, if I recall. So, he's kind of got that Trump factor, but he's just, his personality is almost the opposite. He's much more.
He's got the personality.
How do I say?
Asa Hutchinson, Mike Pence.
He's much more even keel and refined, I guess, if you want to call it that. But
does North Dakota have a nickname? Missouri is our nickname, of course.
The Show Me State.
Does North Dakota have a nickname?
Yeah, it does, and I should probably know it. I can't
it's
remember.
It's the home of sliced bread.
It's something to do with Teddy Roosevelt, I believe.
Here we go. North Dakota motto. The That's
been
not
there
it.
for a while.
This says liberty and union now and forever, one and inseparable. That's the motto,
I
but
haven't
we
heard
need
that
like
before. Yeah,
Like Rough Rider State.
Rough Rider. Yes, there you go.
Rough Rider State. That's cool.
Yeah,
I like
it's
that.
something to do with Teddy. I knew that part. I just couldn't remember exactly how it was phrased.
Are you even from North Dakota?
I am from
Come
there.
on.
See, the problem is there's North Dakota, then there's Fargo and the little surrounding area, and everybody else hates that area because everything's there. So you kind of get in your own little world there and don't know what's going on in the rest of the state.
Or they move to the Twin Cities and call it even,
exactly.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Doug talked to these guys about chippers. With some of us having extended family up in Dakotas, I remember being a kid and getting chippers at the candy store.
Chippers? Are you
Isn't that
talking
the
about
potato chips with the chocolate and stuff?
Oh
on
yeah,
them?
chippers. Yeah. They're chocolate covered potato chips. You get them. Yeah. I don't know if that's a North Dakota thing, but I do remember them quite often. You'd make them at home.
So what do you do for your birthday? Oh, let me ask you. You're married too. Do you love your spouse 100% of the time?
Yes, I do.
Does she love you
All the
100% of the time?
No.
All right. That's the way it goes. And happy birthday.
Thank you.
What do you do on your birthday today?
We're not doing. We're in the middle of buying a house and switching houses and all that. So there's so much chaos going on. I don't even think about that.
Are you moving outside of city limits?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Which city?
Columbia City.
How come?
We're moving out.
How come you are moving out of the city limits of Columbia?
We're bad neighbors and bad suburbanites. We're just not, I
right.
want space.
You like-
I'm
make
from
a
North
Grand
Dakota, for
Forks
crying
or
out loud.
anything,
I could literally look forever and not see anything. So
Do you forget to put clothes on when you go to take the trash out?
I do not. No. That would
It's
be
cold in
bad.
North
That
Dakota.
would be, exactly. Yeah, we don't forget that. No, I don't do that. We're not bad neighbors, but we're quiet people, and we just want some space.
You don't like
know?
people.
I didn't quite go there with it.
That's what I say. I don't like
care
people.
for my neighbors right now, but
Doug Coda, presidential race update.
What's your address, Doug?
yeah, is that out loud? Actually, I live very close to Brandon.
That's true. That's true. That is actually true.
Somewhere in the listening
I'm
area.
not saying, that. that
Let's
they're-
move forward. Happy birthday.
Yes,
Thanks for the
thank you.
presidential race update. Off the text. We are neighbors. Darcy says to give Ron DeSantis credit, Disney has changed so much in the past few years. It used to be a great place. Today, not so much.
Well, and a lot of people agree with you because apparently the lines are as short as ever and their numbers are way down.
And anybody know why Disney's tanking?
Well, economy and
Where do you start?
Bueller? Anyone?
Pronouns.
The world's smallest blank is in Missouri. We're going to pick our heads up out of the gutter. Give you an answer 5 minutes from now.
I heard you crying loud. All the way across town.
This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri, featuring Branden Rathert.
A few weeks ago, my economics professor claimed that universal basic income is the key to getting people off the welfare system in America. I was wondering if you can explain what universal basic income is and if it's a form of socialism or communism.
I have to say that if that's what the professor said, I am dumbstruck.
by 317 points, the S&P up 29, the Nasdaq higher by 75.
Yesterday's numbers coming up 8:25. We'll look at your futures in the morning bell.
We also have the latest inflation numbers.
All right, and we'll get those for you coming up at 8:25 here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Branden Rathert, Stephanie Bell, producer Hannah, John Marsh is here. Holly Rehder, she's announcing that she's going to be running for lieutenant governor, state of Missouri. She's a state senator, rep Southeast Missouri. Prior to that, she was in the House rep in the same area. Now she wants to be the lieutenant governor. Our current lieutenant governor, Mike Kehoe, he is going to be joining us tomorrow on the show. He's a rancher. Talk about the drought impact on him. So now, in the latest stuff with this drought, by the way, is specifically here in mid-Missouri, besides the farmers and ranchers trying to get water to water the cattle and the hay to feed the cattle. So now is what we're paying attention to is navigation on the Missouri River, because that's the financial impact on that. If we don't have enough water, that could cause issues. Today, high close to 100, maybe some storms rolling in tonight. Marsh, what are we seeing potentially with the storms?
Potential for 1-inch hail and winds up to 60, 70 miles an hour. Our tornado risk is slight. And as they look at the maps this morning, our partners at ABC 17 still kind of iffy on where and when for the big weather.
Hopefully we'll get some rain. Thunderstorms tonight, maybe some storms tomorrow morning, and all the way up through a feel-good Friday. Story on Fox, kind of interesting. Folks in the restaurant industry, there's a new fee that's billed to customers, like it's just a separate processing fee of like $1, and restaurants are getting upset. It's just one of those fees that people add. There's a fee for this and a fee for that, but it's only $1.50, but this fee's only $2, and it all adds up. People trying to give the middle finger and saying, come on, man, I'm not doing this anymore. But the story featured a dude by the name of Matt Wilhelmsen. Matt Wilhelmsen owns Keen Bakery, and Keen Baker is in Butler, Missouri. So it was kind of cool. They're on Fox, and this dude's talking about it, and he's in Butler, Missouri, and I guess, I don't know, north of Kansas City, kind of Kansas City, north of Sedalia. Anyhow, so Butler, Missouri, that's a place I've not been into. Butler, Missouri is home, according to Ripley's Believe It or Not, is home to the world's smallest blank. Tombstone. World's smallest tombstone is in Butler, Missouri. And I don't know what kind of economic impact that has on the good folks of Butler, Missouri. I don't know if folks go and I want to see the smallest tombstone in the world. It's 4 inches wide. So I don't know if you held your cell phone sideways. 3 inches high, and it's 2.5 inches thick. World's smallest tombstone.
Whose tombstone is it?
So it belongs to a young lady named Lenny Crouch. Lenny Crouch was a bright, and this is what's on the tombstone. Lenny Crouch, a bright little colored girl, niece of Mrs. Geo Ford. Her father's name is listed as Frank Crouch, with no mention of her mother. She was 14 years old and died of an ongoing lung problem. 6 boys, 6 girls, and some schoolmates all served as her pallbearers. So who knew? You can get into work this morning. Did you know the world's smallest tombstone is here in Missouri? And then call us tomorrow and let us know how your friends reacted, because I'm guessing most of them are going to go, so?
Huh?
Huh? What?
Southeast Missouri. My life story is a true testament to the American dream and to how big our God is. I fought my way out of poverty, growing up on welfare, food stamps, and Greyhound buses into the Missouri legislature. I became involved in public service with the intention of helping Missourians realize their American dream, just as I had, to be able to fight their way out of poverty. While serving in the Missouri House and Senate, I worked hard to make that dream a reality for my constituents. Today, I am announcing my run for Lieutenant Governor.
In the 8 years that I've been here, I've seen the star rise in Missouri politics. State Senator Holly Rehder repped Southeast Missouri. Prior to that, she was in the Missouri House, saying yesterday she wants to run for Lieutenant Governor. She joins us right now here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Ms. Rehder, I'll start here. What makes you want to run for Lieutenant Governor?
Hey, good morning. You know, I did a lot of really good work in the House, and you and I spoke about that over the years. And then in the Senate, I've done a lot of good work in the Senate when it comes to victims of sexual assault, when it comes to the opioid epidemics and epidemic in our family suffering with that all across the state. And I really do feel like the Lieutenant Governor's office is a great next step to give me a little bit more ability to work on some of those key issues that I know are truly affecting a good portion of our Missouri families.
All right. And I want to ask you this too. What were the conversations happening behind the scenes with you, other party leaders in the state of Missouri, other politicians? What were the conversations leading up to you deciding you're going to run for Lieutenant Governor?
You know, when it comes to me, I have discussions with my family and with God. And and so I've had a lot of encouragement since I have said, hey, this is what I want to do. But, you know, I'm not one to ask permission. And so that has absolutely not occurred.
All right. State Senator Holly Rehder joining us this morning here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. I'm Branden Rathert. There's Stephanie Bell.
Good morning.
Brian Houseworth is
good to
here.
see you. Good morning.
There's Mr. Marsh.
Yes, sir.
Producer Hannah's over there.
Hello.
874
Good morning.
93. Good morning. We want to welcome State Senator Holly Rehder into the show this morning.
Branden, thank you. I'm glad we're having a chance to talk to Senator Rehder. I know that obviously, Senator, we appreciate you joining us. A lot of attention on, I know, the transgender legislation and other things, but I want to ask you about a bill that I covered for years, and you finally got it through the across the finish line, and that's Prescription Drug Monitoring Program, PDMP. From your perspective, how is it doing statewide, Senator?
You know, it is just now getting rolled out statewide because of the vendor process of having to pick a vendor. So we got that passed a couple year before last, and since then the department has had to pick a vendor and get the back end working. And so it's my understanding that that's about to be rolled out statewide.
All right. And by the way, this is one of the things that Holly and we have disagreed with over the years, very politely.
Right.
But here's why I am bringing this up. Number one, it was very, very personal to you, and you fought hard. And the other thing, why it's pertinent to bring this up, Ms. Rehder, is that ideally, for a conservative, they're like, no, I don't want my name in any kind of database. You got it passed in an incredibly one-sided conservative Republican legislature, and you got this passed. And to me, even though I disagree, it speaks volumes to your ability to work and compromise behind the scenes. So how does that translate into when you're lieutenant governor? Because different set of responsibilities when you're lieutenant governor.
Right. And, you know, and that's a great question, because what happened with that bill is the public wanted it. So we had over 70% of the public wanting the prescription drug monitoring program. And that was because it's not just some database. I mean, if you go get your prescriptions filled at Walmart or Walgreens, you're in a national database, right? So this is nothing different than an electronic medical record. So our physicians, our medical community had been the ones fighting for this. And so that's Democrats and Republicans across the state. And our family suffering in the opioid epidemic had been asking for this. Why, can my sister go to multiple places, multiple doctors, and they don't know that they're all prescribing her the same medication? And so that's why, is because I include the public. I am huge on communication. I reach out across the state and very heavily in my district, but also across the state to say, look, if this is important to you, let your voices be heard. And that's what happened with the prescription drug monitoring program. People from all over the state started calling their representatives and senators and saying, why are you not voting for this? We are hurting out here, and our pharmacies need this, our doctors need this, and you're making them write prescriptions with blindfolds on. And so I really believe in getting the public involved. I really believe in communicating across Missouri with the people who are out there voting and who these laws affect. And so that's how it got passed. I mean, it wasn't some magic thing that I have, but working behind the scenes, it was just honestly reaching out to the public and saying, this is what we've got, and if you want this passed, you need to talk to your senator, to your representative, and that's what happened.
State Senator Holly Rehder reps a portion of southeast Missouri, saying she is running for lieutenant governor. She's joining us this morning here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri.
Senator, you were right in the middle of the debate over the athletic contests and gender and the SAFE Act and all. What did you hear from your constituents during that whole discussion?
My constituents have been very for that. I mean, absolutely, we believe in children not having surgeries. I mean, that's something that, gosh, I didn't know was possible until we started getting into this debate. I didn't know that was legal until we started getting, and neither did my constituents. They're like, what? Children are having surgeries, for gender reassignment surgeries. But when it came to the women's sports, it was, I'm not athletic. I'm the farthest person from an athletic person that you're going to find. I was the last person picked for every team in school. But it's important. Women have made great strides since Title IX in the last 50 years in competitive sports, in scholarships. And to me, it was, you want to talk about the children who are not getting to play because, they're feeling they're the different gender and that, this, that, and the other. But what about the girls that you are bumping? I mean, they matter too. Their opinions, their feelings, their future matters too. And so that's who I was standing up for. And let me tell you, I'm never one that wants to be insensitive to anything, but I'm also not going to let that change my morals and the way that I stand up and fight. And women deserve to be fought for.
And that's the thing, because if you think that, hey, little sports for little girls should be fair, girl trains and works hard all of her life and then gets to college and she's going to lose because somebody thinks it's okay to let dudes play in her sports. That's wrong. That is just humanly wrong. But and then we get, because we say that, then we get painted as we're just cruel SOBs. And listen, we get it. There is a human element to this. You want to do that. You think you're this. You think you're whatever. That's fine. I'm not going to call you that. And you also are not going to short little girls of their dreams. Now, you said you had said something earlier. You said you weren't very athletic growing up, but if you were playing, what was the one sport maybe you did play a little bit, Ms. Rehder?
I really
None. Okay.
We talked to your colleague, Senator Huff, yesterday about the state budget, and there's been some talk about the vetoes that occurred just here recently. Any reflections on the budget as far as your district goes, and any talk, or what are your thoughts on the potential for a veto override?
I have heard a lot of talk about different veto overrides. The only thing in my district that was really disappointing that got vetoed, but I'm already trying to work another angle to get this funded, was expanding the EPIC program. And this is a program that's been working. It's been a pilot program since 2019 in Springfield, Columbia, St. Louis, and Kansas City. And it is having peer support, people who meet someone at the hospital. If you've gone through an overdose or you're in the hospital trying to get treatment, and you know what, the ER is expensive, and that's not the place for you. Is a peer person, is a person who understands what the community offers, and they get the call, they get to the hospital, get to the ER, and they help get you plugged in to the recovery community and to the treatment help that you need. And that has been incredibly successful. And I think Southeast Missouri and Northwest Missouri need that program as well. And so the funding that I had put in the budget to get that expanded did get cut, but it got cut with the caveat of, hey, Holly, we've got some funding coming in, some opioid money coming into the state because of the lawsuit with the pharmaceuticals, yada, yada. Maybe we can tag some of that funding to expand that program. And so that's what I'm working on now.
All right. State Senator Holly Rehder announcing yesterday that she's going to be running for Lieutenant Governor of Missouri, seat currently held by Mike Kehoe, who incidentally is going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. We're talking about the drought, how it's affecting ranchers, people in the cattle industry, and how ultimately it's going to affect us, the consumers, and also Fisher House getting ready to open up in mid-Missouri. It's kind of like, we have the Ronald McDonald House for young kids that are dealing with illnesses, the Ronald McDonald House where parents can say this. Fisher House, kind of the same thing, but it's for veterans. Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe will be in Columbia tomorrow.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's going to be joining us on the show. By the way, Holly Rehder, our state senator we're chatting with this morning, has a book called Cinder Girl, and it is an incredibly good book. People ask me all the time, like, what's the last thing you read? I'm like, the internet, because I don't read I don't read books. And that's the last thing I read is the internet. I read this book, and the night I finished it, and Holly, I'm sure you remember, I texted as soon as I finished that book, I texted you and said, wow, that book, it is an incredible look at your life. But I think the lessons about how, we can, through our own hard work, we don't have to rely on other people, whether other people is the government or whatever. We do have the power to change our lot in life. It is an incredible book. State Senator Holly Rehder running for Lieutenant Governor. Anything else you want to add before we let you go?
Hey, y'all come, and if you want to help the campaign, sign up at hollyraider.com. We'd love to have you.
Thank you so much, State Senator Holly Rehder, this morning on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Now we're getting ready for the Morning Bell business news, little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you.
Inflation numbers are out.
All right. Should I be Go ahead and do the Morning Bell business news with a little twist only Stephanie Bell can give you.
We are getting inflation news this morning, and it looks like futures are reacting positively. All the futures are in the green this morning. And the inflation news is that inflation, well, let's take the Democrat.
Oh, okay, the spin. We're going to start with spins.
We're going to start with a spin. Hakeem Jeffries has already tweeted. They're already claiming victory. Inflation is down for the 12th consecutive month, and it is the lowest level in 2 years. We promised to lower costs for everyday Americans. President Biden is delivering.
Oh, my God.
This was like minutes after the inflation
Hakeem
report.
Jeffries, Democrat congressman from New York, who obviously does not know what he's talking about, or does know, and he's just blatantly, intentionally lying to you.
So I assume we will be seeing tweets like this, and all of our news shows will be full of the Democrats claiming credit for this lower inflation. The CPI report shows inflation eased to just 3% in June. That is lower than expected and lower than it has been in nearly 2 years. But do you get credit for like lowering something if you're the one that raised it in the first? Like if you cause something and then you're like, well, it's not that bad now. Guess what? I brought it back to, closer to where Trump had it.
Dad, I totaled your car, but look, I fixed the bumper. It's all good, right? That's what this is.
I think, yeah, exactly. And so, and people are pointing out, the inflation numbers, but inflation takes into account a whole bunch of things. And I think some of this, in my, we've had a few minutes to digest here, but I think some of this they're saying has to do with real estate and rental and some other things. But Fox Business is already saying, hey, just hold up there. Just a second. Prices are up 16% since Joe Biden took office. That's the most of any 4-year presidential term since the 1980s. And folks are pointing out, mortgage rates, just because inflation is down, we still, lending is nearly impossible right now, or it'd be stupid right now with the rates. And so the economy is not in a great shape. The market, although it's bounced back here really recently, overall it's still not in great shape. And so they're going to go on a victory lap today, but don't take today's small win as, a win in the overall economic picture.
Yeah, and if you hear this talk today, if somebody's around the workplace and says, the economy, it's looking good, 12 straight quarters, whatever, it's gone down because of Joe Biden, is one of the things you can do is politely remind them, say, okay, well, look at where we were prior to the tragic events of January the 20th of 2021, and just ask them, and we can do these kinds of things very politely. Well, here's some facts. Why don't you look at the numbers? And I'll go back to, hey, Dad, I totaled your car, but look, I fixed the bumper. And that's exactly what the progressives are. They've totaled the car and they fixed the bumper and going, hey, look, it's all shiny and new. And they are disingenuous and lying, and they should not be office holders.
It's better than it was, is technically their argument. I also saw this article on Fox Business, and I think it is more real of what's going on right now. They say back to school shopping decreases for the first time in 9 years as persistent inflation tightens excess spending. And I think we're all kind of feeling that now. So even though inflation, you can say inflation's down today, if we look at our own personal budgets and what's left at the end of the month, a lot of folks, when you want to give your kid that shiny new backpack or that shiny new pencil case, or you want to buy all new things, that the data coming in as far as what people are able to afford for their kids going back to school, it's less, and it's going to shrink this year because people just don't have the money in their bank account.
And maybe the lesson in this is that, and again, if you have friends that, you're politically opposed and they're progressive, Democrat, liberal, whatever, maybe encourage them, look at your finances over the past 1, 2,
State your name.
Joe Biden. Hannah's favorite moment in the Joe Biden presidency from his inauguration that day. I repeat, we were a buck 12. We were like a minute 12 into his presidency, and that's what the president of the United States was doing. I, me, state your name, repeat after me.
I don't know. A close second is him falling off his bicycle.
There is that, and we bring that up because apparently there are several reports coming out of the White House. Apparently this guy's a real SOB to work for, and why that matters is because of one of the other things that he had said during the events of the inauguration.
If you're ever working with me and I hear you treat another colleague with disrespect, talk down to someone, I promise you I will fire you on the spot.
And we know now, again, he lied. He just completely lied about that. Because we know 30 days into his administration, he had a male staffer who was being inappropriate with a female reporter, did nothing about that. And now, apparently, people are afraid to be around the dude. Which, and I don't know what to believe here. It's almost like whiplash, Steph, because we know he sits in the Oval Office all day and he eats pudding. As a matter of fact, he's not going to a big event tonight. I think it's a NATO dinner he's not going to because he's got a busy 4 days. He can't pack that into his schedule. Talk to my good friend Stephanie Bell about packing stuff into his schedule and then not going to a NATO dinner because I'm too busy. But then that apparently he has the gumption in the fire and he like yells and uses foul language at White House staffers. Like they're taking other people when they have to go and meet Joe. They're taking other people into the meetings with them because they're that afraid of the big guy.
That's the worst. Have you had bosses like that?
Yep. And I'll give you the, yep. Russ Withers. I do not hesitate giving his name.
Wow.
Well,
if you treat people like...
It's a big name from...
You know who Russ Withers is in the broadcasting industry?
Southeast Missouri, I believe.
Oh, in Southern Illinois.
Yes.
One of the worst human beings I have ever worked for. And I will say that without failing my entire life, this guy was mean for the sake of being mean. He would hit on your girlfriend and say, oh, yeah, this guy... He would put you, that's a whole nother story. He would put you in a no-win situation, but he could get away with it. Why? Because he wielded that power. He was the boss, and that's the thing. It's the power. Same thing when you're president of the United States. What do you say to the president of the United States if you're being treated poorly? The answer is you don't say anything because of the power that they wield, and that was the same thing with Russ Withers. God rest his soul. Welcome into the show. Too late for that, huh?
Oh, so that's why you were comfortable giving his name.
Because he's dead, yeah.
It makes sense.
I will say one thing, too. We know a lot of progressives are totally supporting the President Biden, but I'll tell you, I looked at Bernie Sanders' feed last night, not for politics, but I was primarily to get some information on Vermont because of the Boone County Task Force 1. He's got some really good information on there about the flooding. And it's not political. It's just it gives a lot of details about the rivers, and really it's really good, and it's better in some cases than the TV stations up there. But I read some of the comments from people that live in his state. Now, granted, they're Vermont people, but a lot of them are telling him, you need to run for president. You'd be much better than President Biden. He doesn't take climate change seriously. So the progressives are not united. Granted, these are Vermont folks. They tend to be very progressive. But I did find that interesting. There was more than one. There were probably 5 or 6 that I saw on his feed last night.
Did Ben and Jerry's ice cream in that factory get flooded out yet on their stolen indigenous land that they operate and make billions of dollars on? They're saying
I
stolen.
don't know. I've heard some of the callers here pretty upset about what they said. But no, I don't know. I don't know what town they're in. I know a lot of the folks have been kayaking up there just to get around because the flooding's that bad.
That's Brian Hausworth. Good morning, bud. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. Good interview with Senator Rehder, by the way.
I know, right? There's John Marsh.
Good morning.
Kidding. Producer Hannah is here.
Hello.
Listen, I've enjoyed my relationship with Holly Rehder over the years. She's a neat human being. She's incredibly sweet, and I probably shouldn't say this, but her southern accent is the most charming. As somebody who lived down south for some years,
yes,
most charming accent I've ever heard.
Are you going to be able to handle this campaign professionally, Rathert?
Stop it. There's Stephanie Bell.
Good morning.
My name is Branden Rathert. Welcome to the show. I want to tell you, there's an organization, the Red Slipper Warrior Project, and there's a dude that does this thing. And the genesis for the Red Slipper Warrior Project, just amazing. Met Tim Tinen last year at an event in Jefferson City, and it was just by chance, and happy to hear his story and what he does and the passion with which he does it. And I'm like, my goodness, this is incredible. You got to come on and talk about this. And I'll never forget our conversation that day. And these years, the reason he started this thing had to do with the wife. He had cancer. And to see years later, to see how emotional he got about it. Yeah, at the sadness over losing his wife, but at the hope of what he's able to do. Now, Tim Tinen, Red Slipper Warrior Project, Liz Hoffman also joining us in studio now. A couple big events coming up. One is coming up here on a Feel Good Friday. Tim, what y'all doing?
We have got, we've been invited to come out to the Renegades baseball team game on Friday. Some great baseball. They're doing a Legends night, so it's past players and kind of an all-star type of a situation, and they've invited us to come out and call it Red Slipper Night.
Very cool. And we have a mutual friend who's going to be, I guess, singing for us that night.
That's right. Mia Smith, I believe you all know her. She actually sang at the Governor's Prayer Breakfast and just knocked the socks off of everyone that was there. She was so good. We asked her to sing for us. I know she was on your show last week, and she's got a great voice. And, yeah, she's going to sing the national anthem for us to get the game started. And then our founder, Tim Tinen, I think he's going to attempt to throw that first pitch out.
Yeah, that might be just a bit outside.
Have you been practicing for that, Tim?
No, I'm going in cold.
Can you throw a baseball?
I used to be able to throw it pretty well, but used to be and now there's a lot of decades between that.
Way different things. I always get curious about these folks. You're going to go, do you train and do some practice reps before you throw out a first pitch at a big ball game? So that's coming up here on a Feel Good Friday. Our guests, Red Slipper Warrior Project, Liz Hoffman and Tim Tinen joining us in the studio this morning.
Tim, give us the backstory on the Red Slipper Warrior Project, the abbreviated version, if you would.
As Branden mentioned, I'd lost my wife Angie to cancer back in 2012, and after that, I just saw some voids in treatment back when she was going through it, and a lot of those voids were emotional. And so we started Red Slipper Warrior Project to really kind of address that, to empower women, to make them better fighters, to remind them cancer doesn't define them, they define them. To remind them they're still beautiful, same people they were. They're just in a fight, and create that warrior mentality.
And the thing specifically that your wife said to you, obviously prior to her passing, about the shoes. What was the big deal with the shoes, Tim?
Yeah, we were walking down the streets of Jefferson City one time, and she said she was looking at a pair of shoes and drooling over them. I said, "Sweetie, what is it about you women and shoes? Because I don't get it. You have 100 pair in your closet, and you're drooling over this new pair." I said, "I don't get it." And she looked at me with that, "Oh, you poor simple man" look that I got frequently and deservedly, and said, "Shoes always love you." And I said, "I know what that means." And she said, "I could look like a train wreck. I have a zit in the middle of my forehead. I could look like a mess, but cute shoes don't care. Cute shoes always love you." And after she passed, I thought, you know what cute shoes don't care about? Cute shoes don't care if you've had a mastectomy or if you've got a chemo port or have lost your hair. Cute shoes don't care. They always love you. So we've incorporated the cute shoes mentality to our package.
All right, and I love it. The website is redslipperwarrior.com. Big night coming up this Feel Good Friday ball game. And our friend, we were talking about our friend Mia Smith, who joined us on the show. That is in the Wake Up Mid-Missouri podcast. You can go to kwos.com or 939theeagle.com, and you can check out any episode of Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Specifically, we have the Mia Smith conversation posted on there. And then real quick, before we let you go, you guys have a big concert event that you're doing in September. Tell us about that, Liz.
That's right. Joe Nichols is coming to the capital city, and we are all very excited for that. Just under 2 months away. September 16th is when that's going to be. And like I said, right here in Jefferson City, we're expecting a great crowd. And so if you haven't gotten your tickets yet, those are available. You can get those through our website. It's redslipperwarrior.com, and it will link you to that to get your tickets. So, yeah, lots of great things coming up. Of course, a great organization that I'm very proud to be part of.
All right, very cool. redslipperwarrior.com, redslipperwarrior.com. com. Liz Hoffman, Tim Tinnon. We'll look forward to seeing y'all Friday night at the ballpark. And we'll especially look forward to Tim Tinnon, who's apparently, now you're right-handed as I understand
I am a righty, yeah.
And Tim has agreed if somebody will donate an extra $1,000, he will do the first pitch left-handed. So can't wait.
I'm not sure it'll look much different, but I'll sure do that.
Tim, Liz, we appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you guys. Coming up just a few minutes from now, we continue to celebrate some of the best in Mid-Missouri as voted by you, the Mid-Missourians. We'll do that coming up 5 minutes from now here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. is coming up tomorrow on the show. Our current Lieutenant Governor, Mike Keogh, he is going to be joining us, talking about the drought and how it's impacting people. Because the thing we're learning now this morning with the drought, and sure, your lawn might be drying up, stuff like that. Cattle, eventually it could lead to higher prices for beef. Some folks having a hard time getting grain. The other thing that is happening right now is now they're starting to watch how that might shape up on the Missouri River, because Missouri River obviously used to transport a lot of dry goods. Right now, I want to welcome into the show Dr. Melissa Liepins, Masek, Missouri Eye Consultants. Doctor, welcome into the show. We wanted to congratulate you, one of the best of Columbia, Inside Columbia Magazine, one of the folks voted best of Inside Columbia 2023. What is it that separates you guys? Why is it that folks took the effort to get onto the website and vote for you guys at Missouri Eye Consultants?
Well, hi. Thanks for having me. We're excited to be here. Our practice has been around for a long time. We've been around for about 60 years. And I think what really separates us is probably just the motto that we live by at our practice. Our motto is that we put our patients first. And I really think that, has translated to the patient to get out there and vote for us. And it's certainly not lost on us. It's an honor that we take seriously and are really proud, because putting our patients first is our main goal.
Well, and I wonder, too, so what makes it Missouri Eye Consultants, like what makes you different? Like, why does somebody choose, say, okay, I can go to these optometrists, I go here, I can go there. Why is it that folks say, I want to go see Dr. Masek with Missouri Eye Consultants?
Well, that's a great question. I think it's because we like to make you part of our family. And one of the things I always tell my patients is I'm not going to recommend anything for you that I'm not going to recommend for my family. So, we're not just out to sell you a pair of glasses. We are looking to take care of the entire body of you. We can tell a lot about somebody's health by looking at their eyes. So, we are not just looking at your eyes, we're looking at your entire health. I think one of the other interesting things that we also offer is we're kind of full service. We're doing entire health examinations of the eyes, contacts, glasses, but we also have a cataract surgeon. So it's kind of one stop for everything you can need within our office.
Dr. Jeff Campbell?
Very well.
Yeah, that's my dude. He just looked at my eyes, I guess, about a month ago. And one of the things that I have appreciated about you guys over the years is, I'm 52 years old and I've been wearing readers, and I don't want to get glasses, doctor. And Jeff will say, well, you don't have. If you want, you can get them, but just keep using readers. So that's one of the things that I personally have always appreciated about you guys at Missouri Eye Consultants. One of the folks voted best of Columbia with Inside Columbia Magazine's best of 2023. Doctor, is there anything else that you would like to add?
Well, we would just like to say thank you to the community. It's an honor that we are so proud of, and I just wanted to say thank you, and we look forward to taking care of you for many years in the future.
All right, Dr. Melissa Liepins, Masek, Missouri Eye Consultants, thank you and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
All right. Coming up before we get into the Gary Nolan Show, anybody buying lottery ticket? I guess there's drawings. And by the way, Stephanie, one of the things we needed to apologize for while you were gone last week, I think one of the days in the Morning Bell, Hannah, was the business news one morning just lottery numbers? Was that the extent?
Yeah, come on,
the morning,
pretty much.
Of the Morning Bell.
Pretty much.
Stephanie does a great job with the Morning Bell every morning, 8:25. Just business news, little twist. I think that's what it was, Marsh. I think one morning business news, it was just lottery numbers.
That was pretty much it, wasn't it? We didn't win.
No, we didn't win. But here, so Mega Millions jackpot, that's $500 million, I guess. And then Powerball, I don't know, it's pretty high up there too, but I'm one of those. And this is why I think people are so weird. And I am one of those people. Listen, we're
I agree that you're a weird person.
That statement has been fact-checked. We're weird. We do things like we water the grass, we want it to grow, and then what do we do when it gets too high, John? We cut it. Shorten it, right?
Run and hide this time of year. You don't have to cut it.
Yeah. And then I put stuff in the microwave to heat it up, and then when it's done heating up, what do? I set it out and blow on it to cool it off. I'm dumb. Same thing with the lottery tickets. Listen, if the Powerball jackpot's $10 million, ain't nobody got time for $10 million. I'm not buying a lottery ticket.
It's a donation to education, Brandon.
That's right. Good point.
There is that.
There's that. Screw education. But if it's $500 million, now all of a sudden I'm interested. I'm not interested in the $10 million. $500 million, I might go and spend $2 or $4 on some tickets.
Now, if you win big, will you donate to my student loan fund?
I will. I'll give you $10,000, whatever your student loan. I'll tell you what. If I win the lottery, I will pay off your student debt. If right now you tell us what is the total sum of your student debt.
Oh, come on!
In round numbers.
In round numbers, it's about 16.
It's rough.
Well, hopefully Joe will get you
Could be
back.
a lot worse.
It could be.
Could be a lot worse.
I know.
Well, thank you for sharing. And here's why. Thank you for sharing that, seriously, because I want people to...
Well, you wore me down enough.
And I'm going to pay it off.
Oh, yeah.
You won't have to. The president's going to take care of her.
I am going to pay it off if I win. And you'll know I have won because guess who's going to host the show tomorrow if I win the lottery?
You're going to hang us out to dry?
Anybody but Brandon.
No, well, here's the
Drop that with Branden Rathert from the Wake Up Mid-Missouri logo.
Are you one of those people that if you won the lottery, you
No.
just quit everything?
Nope. Well, that's what people say. Would you retire if you won the lottery? Would you retire? I'm like, no, I'd just quit.
I'd go back to bed.
Yeah. No, I would stay. I would stay and do this. I really believe I would.
I think you would too.
Circumstances would be a little